Welcome everyone, I hope you're having a very wonderful day, and welcome to my guide for feral pigs for Emerald Coast. Before we begin, I want to quickly break down on how today's guide is going to work. So our first section, we'll be covering hotspots and locations, and then we're going to move on to weapon recommendations, and then we're going to end today's video with the animal profile, which will be custom map, time zones, ammo chart, and more. Everything you need to make your hunting life 10 times easier. So let's get right into it by quickly going over the drinking time of the feral pigs. These guys do drink between 0 to 3 and do share the time zone of the kangaroo when it comes to drinking time. So just keep that in mind when you're out there, just so if you do bump into kangaroos, you're not asking yourself, is this the right drinking time? No, they just share the zone times. That's it. And then moving on to hotspots. Now this is where things kind of get difficult with trying to explain this to you guys folks, because for my map in particular, I have no double ups when it comes to zones whatsoever, so they're all just singles floating about at all of these lakes, which is very unfortunate in my opinion. I just kind of wish some of the bigger lakes I wish had more zones, but they don't. So like even the one down here at the very bottom right, which is a pretty big lake, only has one feral pig zone for me. But the way I consider it a pretty good hotspot, which I do have marked at the end of today's video, is the lakes here right within the Junebuck Ridge to the left of it, and the one to the right of it here. So we're going to quickly go over all of these hotspots. So we have two lakes right here above this outpost in Hogan's Field. These places are really good. They both each have a group of feral pigs there for me, and the two lakes above them also have a group of feral pigs as well. The lake to the left of it also has one as well, and this giant lake over here to the far left also has them as well. So I consider this a very condensed hotspot, mostly because you can bounce around these pretty quickly if you set up a tent on the very far left, and then maybe one over here on this left small lake, just mostly because there is kind of a far distance for that one. But I think that's pretty much a good hotspot to grind for them, considering how these guys are so spaced out and very far and few between when it comes to locations. Now, I do want to point out some iffy locations that I do have marked down, some that I don't have marked down, just in case you guys do need to keep looking and want to check these out for yourself. So over here on the left-hand side of Hogan's Field, we have two creeks here. Now, I did look at other people's sources of material just to make sure everything was clean, correct. I had all the zones. They marked this down. I did not mark this down at my animal profile, mostly because I did not have any feral pig zones there, so I was kind of confused about that. But to the right of it, at this small little lake, I did have a feral pig zone. And over here, down at the very bottom of Hogan's Field, we have this gigantic lake here. They also have that marked down, but a lot of this is old information. I did just mark it just in case, but I had no feral pigs there whatsoever as well. And I think there's only one other lake that I did not have any feral pig activity, just to keep in mind, is this one up here with this outpost. Another few things is I did not have any feral pig activity in the mangroves. The closest thing to feral pig activity in the mangroves was right here, and that's all that I had for feral pig zones. When it came to the mangroves, I did not have any up here. I saw no pigs whatsoever. When you come around this bend, it's obviously for me kangaroo zone. I have that marked down on my kangaroo guide. But once you get down to the halfway point here, right with this outpost, everything down and below is feral pig territory. And then all the way on this river stretch where I'm at, where I'm going to show you guys today, is very active for feral pigs. Now, I did mark it down as a hotspot because it's kind of very sparse and few between, just like the lakes. So you'll have like maybe the highest density would probably be a 3 stack within a close proximity. So which, like, we have feral pigs here, we have one right here, and there should be another group like right over here. So that's the closest to like having a really good hotspot location is for these feral pigs. So we're just going to quickly pull our binoculars out just so I can show you guys. We're not going to shoot any of these guys. We're just going to walk up and just show you guys all the pigs. Now we're going to run up to the next group just so I can showcase more. I don't know how necessarily I'm going to do a grind. I figure I'm going to tent up all the tents down here in the Junebuck Ridge pretty much and just bounce in between them and just stack the pigs there. But yeah, it was kind of rough looking around. I was like, am I missing stuff? Are my pigs not coming to zone? Because they're just ghosts out here in Emerald Coast for me. I'm not used to this because when I do hunt feral pigs, I do hunt them on Aurora, which I have a lot better time over there. So we have another piggy right there looking at me, screaming at me. And then we do have some more over there. Are we about to run up on the other group? I think we already ran up on that other group. And then we have that next group there, which I'm not going to showcase whatsoever. But that's pretty much does it for the hotspots and locations. I'm going to see you guys back at the outpost for the weapon recommendation. So I'll see you guys in just a moment. Alrighty, folks, so here we are back at the outpost. Before we begin, I want to quickly mention three things. First things first is I'm only going to be covering rifles, handguns, and shotguns. I'll not be covering bows because I'm not a bow expert, so I'll leave that to professionals. Secondly, these are just my personal recommendations, favorites. I always say go out there and explore and see what suits you and what you enjoy playing with. And then lastly, I'll be mentioning all the deals these weapons come from in case you want to pick them up for yourself. So let's get right into it with the only bolt-action rifle I'll be recommending in today's video, the 450. Now, I want to give this rifle a bit of time to shine because I haven't really recommended it all. I pretty much have recommended a majority of these weapons in this game, except for this bad boy, and it's one of the newest additions to Call of the Wild. I don't see a lot of people using it, but I do want to recommend it. It covers classes 4 through 7, I believe. It's very solid, and I have tested out on the pigs. It's very fun to use, so I just wanted to give this thing a little bit of love and let it be known that it does exist, and it does do pretty well in this game, especially with the terms of hunting of feral pigs. So you can find this bad boy in the Hunter's Choice Bolt Action Rifle Pack DLC. Moving on to the two other rifles. Now, these next two rifles is what I mostly use in terms of pig hunting. We have the M1 Grand. I think it's disrespectful if I refer to it as its in-game name, but this is an iconic World War II rifle with a beautiful ping sound once that clip ejects. This thing is very, very fun in terms of pig hunting. You have 5 rounds in there, semi-automatic, so you can play some pretty good follow-up shots on them. And how I do feral pigs is, at least since these guys have pretty big groups, I always try to take out the 2 best pigs within that group each time. Moving down to, forgot to mention what DLC this comes from. Smoke and Barrels Weapon Pack DLC, in case you guys are wondering, which is one of my favorite DLC weapon packs, so I recommend picking that one up. Moving on to our third and final rifle of the day, the Zarza 10308. Now, if I do recall my calibers correctly here, this bad boy just has a little bit more oomph than the 30-06, which is why I consider this to be the king of the pig killers. You still have the same rounds in there. You have 5 rounds in there. It's semi-automatic as well. And this thing is just very, very fun to use. You can find this bad boy in the Modern Rifle Pack, and there's really not much to go on. It's basically the same as the M1 Grand, in terms of magazine size. The Zarza does just have, in my opinion, just a little bit recoil from what I've seen and felt, but that could just be just me. But anyways, that does it for that rifle. Moving on to handguns, I'm going to recommend the king of all handguns, the best handgun in the game, the 4570 Jernberg Superior. Yes, this thing is a single shot, but what makes it so good is you can put a rifle scope on it, which gives it the advantage compared to all the other pistols, and it does help leveling up your pistols having that rifle scope with that better zoom. So that pretty much does it for this handgun here. I do want to mention one other thing about it. It does cover classes 4 through 9, which gives it a lot of leverage in terms of just carrying it around in general and just having it on you. So do recommend that, and you can find it in the High Caliber Weapon Pack DLC. Moving on to shotguns. Now, with shotguns, I was considering, once again, not adding shotguns, but it would be not fair to those who do like hunting with shotguns to hear my recommendation. This recommendation is the same as pretty much as a majority of these that I've set on the map. The Nordic 20-gauge Serviceman does a really good job for at least class coverage for this map in general, especially in the terms of feral pigs. The buckshot and slugs can be used. You probably would not be using this on most of the map other than unless you're hunting in the northern section where there's a lot of jungle and woods. But it's there if you want to use it, and it's very fun to use, and you can find it in the Duck and Cover Pack DLC. That pretty much does it for weapons, folks, so I'm going to see you guys over at the animal profile in just a moment. Alrighty, folks, so here we are at the end of today's video. Before I let you guys go, I'm going to do a quick animal profile breakdown. Starting on the left-hand side, we have all of our basic feral pig information. We have our class difficulty, silver, gold, and diamond threshold. We have our weight from least to greatest in kilograms and pounds. We have our fur types covering common and rare. Moving on to the center of the map now, I do want to quickly clarify a few things. If you guys have skipped to this point and are just watching this for this section, I do recommend going back to the very beginning, mostly just for some clarification about the hotspots. I just did not realize this until now getting to this point, that I did have this marked down as a hotspot. I consider this just normal, as a normal common hotspot, but now thinking about it, it is a hotspot. There is quite a few pigs throughout here, and they do kind of clump up between groups of 2 to 3 every so often, but it's just kind of sparse and sporadic throughout the river. But I guess, yeah, it would be a hotspot, considering how close some of these groups are. And then down below, we pretty much covered all that, with the only addition being this one here that I consider as a hotspot, mostly because of the outpost being so close. And So, yeah, that pretty much does it for this section. We're going to move on to the top right-hand corner where we have all of our time zones nice and organized for you. And then below that, we have our ammo charts for those full entirety kills. Now, that pretty much does it for today's video, folks. If it did help you, please drop a like. It really helps out the channel a lot. And I hope you guys have a very wonderful day. Happy hunting. Good luck. And I will see you guys in the next one.